Good evening, viewers. I guess by now you have been flooded with the NDC's propaganda on the Agyapa Royalties Deal and the consequent concerns raised by the civil society organizations. Do you know that the idea of establishing a financial vehicle to manage Ghana's gold royalties was actually initiated under the erstwhile John Mahama administration? Do you know that the Parliamentary Select Committee on Finance under the NDC government recommended for the establishment of an entity called the Ghana Gold Company to manage the country's gold royalties and equity interests? Well, do not be surprised yet, because you will hear more revelations on this show tonight. In December 2018, the MIIF Act established the MIIF to 1. Manage the equity interests of the Republic in mining companies, 2. Receive mineral royalties and other related income due the Republic for mining operations, except in relation to bauxite, 3. Provide for the management and investment of the assets of the fund and for other related matters, hence the establishment of the Agyapa Royalties. On tonight's show, we will dissect the issues for you to make your own informed decision. We will give you nothing but the truth. My name is Eko Vincent Asifua, and I am the parliamentary candidate for Old Tafo constituency. I'm your host today for Majority Caucus. We are also live on all NPP social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and the rest. Stay tuned. Let's go for a quick commercial break.
Fellow Ghanaians, I've just instructed the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection to begin preparations to ensure that as from 24th August up to 18th September, all 584,000 final year JHS students and 146,000 staff, both in public and private schools, be given one hot meal a day. Fellow Ghanaians, the government will absorb water bills for all Ghanaians for the next 3 months, i.e. April, May, and June. Fellow Ghanaians, government will fully absorb electricity bills for the poorest of the poor, i.e. for all lifeline consumers. That is free electricity.
Me baba ko concentrate sakwtia all body sardine nyina bai wose ye ma ne dokron ba kwa sardine ba ko sardine ba ko ni nyina be na ye wa gin ni pa ho wa gin mobro wa fo wa nhye osikani ahwehie ni
aban we de adukrem ade a wa de eburu adwene ente ase so ebi se aban bi emaye ye hu se wa ma oman kura de bi e free fair from March as COVID-19 no bae no obi ye ntwe lad be ye ntwe water be so ati ase wenum nyina ya de a aban we aya te se ebi sida NDC aban obetwa mu koe no wantimi amfa bibi kitu ebi kura ma e free kitikiti kura.
You're most welcome back. My name once again is Eko Vincent Asifua Jr. and I am the parliamentary candidate for the good people of Old Tafo constituency. Today, I have in the studio the Honorable Meku Duka, the Affable Meku Duka, and he is the MP for Takwa in Soyem. He doubles as the board chair of MIIF, and today he's here to educate the Ghanaian public, especially to dissect the issues and deal with the propaganda surrounding the Agyapa Deal. Honorable, you're most welcome to Majority Caucus. This is the 4th edition of Majority Caucus.
Yeah, a pleasure being here.
The Ghanaian people, first and foremost, would like to know, when we say MIIF, what does it mean?
Yes, good evening to your cherished viewers.
Right.
And to yourself. You're doing well. Let me commend you.
Right.
For this effort. MIIF, the Minerals Income Investment Fund, is an act that has been passed by Parliament, which both sides contributed immensely towards it, and it's Act 978. And that has situated the peristatal purposeful vehicle called Agyapa.
Right.
And that vehicle is enshrined in the Act 978. And the Act says establish an SPV that will trade all over the world. I mean, a global SPV. And the Act specifically indicated that. And that is to ensure that the revenue stream that comes from the mining concessions that we are having 3 streams. We're having the dividends that they pay royalties and corporate tax. These are the 3 main streams that we get from the mining companies. And with these streams, we're taking only one out of the 3. And out of the 1, we're taking 75.6%.
Right.
Out of the total money that we receive from the royalties.
Right.
And with this 75.6, we also giving the usual 20% that we pay to the Minerals Development Fund.
Right.
That hasn't been touched. And we having 100 and over concessions in Ghana. And out of this 100 and over concessions, we are only using 16. And the 16, 12 of them are in production stages, whilst the remaining 4 are now being developed.
Right.
So clearly, we're dealing with 12 concessions.
So clearly, from the explanations that you are giving, the government of Ghana is not taking royalties, or if you like, has not put all these mining concessions under the MIIF, only 16 out of it.
Yes.
That's what you mean.
And you see, we having, apart from the royalties that we pay, now the dividends that they pay is going to the consolidated fund. The corporate tax that they pay also remains same.
Right.
And even the royalties is hovering around 3 to 5%.
Right.
And let me establish this fact. I'm from a mining community, Takwa. And all this while, we've been mining in and around Takwa for more than a century. And I can't pinpoint any tangible project that is so significant that I can be proud of, including our roads.
Same as Obuasi.
Same as Obuasi.
Yes.
Same as other areas, Ebrem and so on and so forth. And we've also not been questioning what we use our money for, especially the proceeds we get from mining companies. Now, we tout Johannesburg, we mention Cape Verde, all in South Africa, that these cities or provinces were developed out of gold proceeds.
Right.
Just because the mining companies in South Africa are owned by the indigenes of South Africa. Whereas in Ghana, the mining companies are owned by foreigners. So they mine, they get the proceeds, they pay their taxes, they take the money to their respective countries. So the president says, how do we also build local champions within the mining industry? You establish a purposeful vehicle to trade with, you get enough resources, you establish companies like Goldfields, Anglo Gold, Newmont, and so on, to have that same pedigree. You create the employment opportunities, you expand the the economy of your country, and that will be highly useful to bridge the infrastructural gap that you have. We have in health, in terms of health facilities, we are lacking. As I speak with you, but for the interventions of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo would have been found wanting in respect of health. But, education, the free SHS has increased enrollment tremendously, and we need to bridge the gap as to where these children will sleep. How do we build this infrastructure? We need to get, go outside the box, think deep. The status quo has been that go for a loan. Let them give you interest for future generation, like a prospect and upcoming, politician like you, to have that burden. No, this government says, the president says, no, don't go for a loan. Let's have a situation where we can lure the conscience of well-meaning investors to invest in what you have, to establish same mining companies, to also turn to pay royalties to your government, to to develop your nation.
Very simple. Without paying nothing.
Without paying any further cost. We are not paying any future taxes on. We're not paying any interest on any loan. It's not a loan.
Right.
So we've established this purposeful vehicle to go out there, trade with it, and we're having some of these companies established in the world, globally. We're having what we call Wheating. Wheating is having a market capital share of about $23.4 billion. So we think deep. We compare ourselves to the champions, those who have done it before. If you talk of Franco-Nevada, Franco-Nevada also having a market capital share of about $28.9 billion. We're talking of Osisco, we're talking of Sandstorm. These are companies that invest in mining concessions. And they are the likes that we compare ourselves to. We don't compare ourselves to something that we've just collapsed in or has been in a way outlawed in Burkina Faso, Okada, and then we'll be bringing the conscience of Ghanaians to the level of Okada, where we are migrating them even from the Okada principle to make them train drivers, because that is what we intend establishing, connecting all the regional capitals with train lines. So how do you migrate these Okada people to make them train drivers instead of Okada? So we, instead of thinking deep, look at what they and how they think. So we are migrating from the system of always contracting loans to establishing companies that can, in a way, get people attractive to buy shares into, and then generate that enough income to establish these mining companies. After establishment of those mining companies, what next? Is to recruit people from your constituency, is to recruit people from the Volta region, people from the Upper West, Upper East, to be on board, to get something doing. When we are able to lower the workforce or the unemployment base, then we can say, yes, we are getting there. When we are able to construct roads, tangible projects that we can pinpoint and say, yes, we did this out of gold revenue, then we can say yes. And with this, NDC will never be happy with us, because they know and they are aware that this will bring enough revenue, and that will, in a way, tell Ghanaians that NPP is a competent government.
Is that really the fear?
That is the fear.
That's the fear.
Because
that Ghana is going to get an upfront sum of about $500 million, right?
More than 500 million.
Right.
We're talking of $1 billion.
Right.
And my brother,
3 months to elections.
Yes.
You could use those monies to be able to construct a number of roads and all that.
I'm not even mindful of the period. I'm mindful of what will come to this, support the developmental agenda of this country.
Right.
And even though we're going for an election in December, I don't care coming. If we get it tomorrow, how? And I've heard people say that we've stepped it down. Respectfully, Ghanaians, this is a good cause. It's something we champion for you, and we'll never step it down. People are speculating it out there that we need to widen the engagement scope.
So that was going to be my next question, because the NDC and other civil society organizations are raising questions of the fact that this agreement lacked the proper consultative procedures.
Okay. Interestingly, we started this engagement. We engaged all the mining companies in Ghana. We continued to engage the Minerals Commission. We engaged the Chamber of Mines. We had listed to engage in Ananum when the COVID started. We passed this law in 2018. We started all this engagement from 2019. Then March thereabout, the COVID came. Don't forget, we were all confined.
Right.
And couldn't go further to engage in Ananum. So that stalled the process. Obviously, the concerns from civil society groups, I do share some of the concerns that let's engage.
No, but the people's representation in Parliament.
Yes.
And I heard Atufosin claiming that processes as far as consultation are concerned was not exhausted in Parliament. And so I am much interested in the people's representation, because Parliament is supposed to be seen as the representatives of the people. If Parliament is consulted, then we should deem it that, the whole of the people of Ghana has been consulted.
Thank you very much. This is a submission from an intelligent person. Parliament is the largest representative platform that you can have.
Right.
Because you're having a rep from Old Tafo,
right,
from Takwa, from Bole, Bamboy, from Hohoi, everybody is in a way represented. So the anticipation is you have the information, you relay the information to your constituents. Where the challenges are, you come back with those challenges for us to address.
Right.
But with yesterday, for example, I had a friend who was asking me, did you ever share some of these documents with the NDC for them? I say, they have all these documents and they had them. I was on the same platform with a different name with Ato Forsen, and that was the first time he admitted that the Minister for Finance submitted and in fact gave the cash flow to the minority. The NDC had denied that the cash flow statement was never opened up to them. And that's also a worrying, trend. I mean, we need to be truthful to Ghanaians. What we have done since 2018, we had deliberated a lot on this. We debated extensively on the act. They contributed to the act.
On the floor of Parliament.
And the act itself clearly mentioned that we need to establish this parasitic vehicle. And respectfully, let me read Article 3, Clause A of the act. And it says, the fund may create and hold equity interests in a special purposeful vehicle in any jurisdiction in furtherance of its objects, and the special purpose vehicle shall be free to operate as a regular commercial company. And the special purpose vehicle is the Agyapa. So, and it goes on to tell you all the things that you need to do. And
so the concerns that are raised by the NDC once again and other civil society organizations are that Agyapa is owned by a few privileged Ghanaians. And that I want to know, and maybe the people of Ghana want to
that is also
understand.
A fallacy.
Who are the real owners of Agyapa?
Agyapa is owned by Ghanaians. It is for you.
Right.
It is for the one from Mahamo in my constituency. From one, it's for the one from Tetrim in my constituency. From Subriso in my constituency. From Hohoi, from Ho, from Bole, from Jirapa. Agyapa is for all Ghanaians and it's for nobody. I am the chairman of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. I'm not from Eastern Region. I'm not an Achem. I'm a Wassaman from a village called Dompem.
Right.
And the president saw the need to appoint me as the chair of that fund. And whoever works with Agyapa or MIIF was appointed by me. So don't ever even anticipate that the president will look somewhere and say, yes, let me bring friends or whoever. He appointed me, a poor man from Dompem, to chair this fund. It doesn't look left or right to know where you're from before he gives you an appointment. And MIIF has a board, and the board members,
but
none of them comes from...
Agyapa is owned 100% by MIIF.
By MIIF.
That's
Agyapa is a baby of MIIF.
Absolutely.
Agyapa, MIIF
I want the people of Ghana to understand it well.
MIIF established Agyapa because the MIIF Acts mandated MIIF to establish Agyapa. And that Agyapa is what we are going to trade with for people to invest in, then we'll bring the money back home. And for a company to be listed on the London Stock Exchange, unless you go through the transparency rudiments before it will be accepted. And the regulator, that is London Stock Exchange, would want to take its time to really critique it, make sure you meet all the requirements, international standards, best practices, before you will be allowed to be listed on the London Stock Exchange. So if Agyapa is allowed to be listed on the London Stock Exchange, that alone should tell you that it is transparent enough. And that is why NDC doesn't want to see that light and has already indicated that they are writing to London Stock Exchange. And this is, a form of person that is not, patriotic enough because we can't continue like this. Don't forget they wrote on the Sino Hydro, also telling the world that yes, Ghana is not where you need to invest your money. And they are still telling the world that if you are an investor and you want to invest your money in Ghana, don't come, because it's not a place worthy of their revenue or money. And that is very unfortunate. That is very, very unfortunate. Now they also ask, why do you domicile the Agyapa in Jersey? Countries have ways of attracting visitors or investors into their country. We have adopted the system of tourism, using our cocoa to tell the outside world that yes, we are rich of these resources. Government also sometimes give incentives to company just to in a way motivate people to invest. Recently, the president gave some opportunities in terms of tariffs to mining companies and reduced their tariffs up to 30%, if I'm right. And that's a way of encouraging people, motivating people to invest in creating jobs. Now, Jersey also has a system and a way of also luring people or attracting investors into their country. And that form is to give tax incentives to whoever establishes a company in their jurisdiction. And that's their rule. It's not an illegal thing. That's what they also do to get people on board, to get more people to, be listed. If you go to United Kingdom and London specifically, we have a company, and it's an energy company. It's called Genel Energy. Genel is close to BP, and it's also domiciled in Jersey. And are you telling me that UK would want to affiliate to a corrupt or fictitious company like, a company like Genel? If Genel, happens to be a corrupt or a fictitious company, UK wouldn't tolerate it to be listed or to be domiciled in UK. They would have been sanctioned. So, and apart from Genel, we have reputable companies that are also domiciled in Jersey.
Right.
So, we would want to take that opportunity in making sure that those tax exemptions we also benefit out of. And if you have the intention of protecting your nation's purse, you also think of, where do I invest Mother Ghana's money judiciously and prudently? You would think. You wouldn't just go and throw the money out there. So we said, yes, we can take that opportunity. Let's, get it listed in Jersey and get it listed on the London Stock Exchange and Ghana Stock Exchange. So we have nothing to hide. People are asking of the prospectus. Why don't you release the details of prospectus? As part of a requirement for a company to be listed on London Stock Exchange, you need to, in a way, reserve some documents for the regulator to get it approved. Because if you are seeking for an admission and you apply and your school doesn't give you admission letter, how do you then go out there to tell people that, yes, I had grade A, grade B, and that I have an admission at KNUST? Unless you get the admission letter.
Absolutely.
The moment you get the admission letter, it will be public. Everybody will know that, yes, this is your admission letter, and now you can call yourself a student of KNUST. So Ghanaians, some section of NDC, they are telling us we should call ourselves that a company that has been listed on the London Stock Exchange without the approval from the London Stock Exchange. And before you can be approved and listed, you need to take your time in publicizing or publishing your document. And after the whole thing is accepted by the London Stock Exchange, everything will be known. It will be a public document. Who is behind the Agyapa? Who has shares? Who bought shares? But as I speak with you, Ghana has 100% shares of Agyapa. Nobody owns even a dime share of Agyapa.
But let me ask you this. Is the Agyapa related or having any relationship with Asase Radio?
Not at all.
I want a sincere answer.
Not at all. You see, that is also a worrying trend, my brother.
I'm asking this because the CSOs and the NDC keeps on hammering this.
The CSOs never mentioned that.
Well, I mean,
as part of their study is the NDC.
The NDC, I mean,
with their diabolic, intentions and so on. You see, Agyapa, we started with Asase,
right?
Because we wanted it listed on the London Stock Exchange,
right?
Now we got there, we realized, Asase is not known in UK. It's a unique name because it's a treasure from Asase land.
Right.
So why don't we go this from Asase? Go this from land. So why don't we name it Asase? So we named it Asase. Then we sent the name to UK. Then we were directed to also have a counterpart also listed in Ghana on the Ghana Stock Exchange. So it was there and then that we started going. You need to go through the registration, the registrar's department to find out the background of Asase and so on. So we realized that we're having about 22 companies that were bearing same name, Asase, and some were even farms. And I can go through, respectfully go through some of the names. Asase Focus Limited, Asase Metals, Asase GPS, Asase Abba Limited, Asase Agro Services, Asase Farms, Asase Green Projects, Asase Survey Services, Group Association, Asase Resources. These were the names, and they were.
After you did a search at the Registrar General Department,
because we wanted to replicate what we were going to do in London, also in Ghana. So then we need to have a company that has same name. Right. So if you're going to have it listed on the London Stock Exchange, you need to have it also listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Right. So then in Ghana, we realized, so there are these names there. Then why don't we change it? In order not to confuse investors. Because obviously you have your website also bearing Asase. These companies are also having their respective websites and telephone numbers also. So the moment the person Googles, see another Asase Farms, and that will create some sort of confusion. So why don't we change the name to make it very simple? So we did the background. Okay, then I even suggested Enapa Asase. Then why don't we add Asase Pa? And then others, some people also suggested Agyapa, and it wasn't even Agyapa, it was Agyapade. Agyapade. Then I even said, okay, then we can even shorten it in order to make things very simple. Instead of Agyapade will be too long for a foreigner to pronounce. So why don't you make it Agyapa? And this is also something that people are challenging it. Why are we doing this? This is something we need not to be worried about. It's a genuine concern. So we just changed it from Asase to Agyapa. Now, with the names that they mention, for example, and we need to say it clearly, that people mention Gabi. And I ask myself, Jesus Christ, is Gabi not a lawyer? Did he open his law firm yesterday? Has the law firm not been around all this while? And indeed, they have a relationship with White and Case. And NDC engaged White and Case during their tenure. And White and Case is a reputable consultancy firm. It's a global consultancy firm. And they do a lot of things. And you can check their background. And if you have a law firm that has a relationship with White and Case, and you tend to consult White and Case, obviously they would want to also deal with a law firm that they are comfortable with or familiar with. Let me put it that way. And Gabi is also a Ghanaian. And he has lawyers who I can confidently tell you that some are even from the Western region. And some I have a lawyer who is from my constituency, works with Gabi's firm. What about that? And we have about not less than 3 Voltarians in his law firm. Some are not less. And he's been in this business all this while. So what is wrong consulting that firm? And you need to also have a law firm that has that exposure, that has dealt with companies that are into gold royalty business. So we searched around through Conferry. Conferry is also an international company, consulting company, and they did a headhunt to come up with companies that can assist us establish this gold royalty. In 2011, interestingly, NDC put it in their budget.
I was going to come there because as we speak, I could understand why the NDC is so much interested in the trivialities.
Yeah.
For us to be able to deal with the real concerns of putting up this act, or if you like, bringing about this Agyapa. Because if you check the budget statement in 2011, as you wanted to allude to, I may have to read for the benefit of the people of Ghana, and I think my producers may also put it up the screens for us to also understand. Now, in 2011, and this is the budget statement for the NDC that was read by Dr. Kwabena Dufo in 2011. Now, when you check page 242, number 972, it states, and I read, currently, Ghana has shares and carried interest in a number of mining companies that enable government to receive significant cash flows from royalties and dividends. The current increases in gold prices, increased demand for gold exposure by investors, and the appreciation in the equity interest in the gold mining companies present a unique opportunity for the government to consider the monetization of all portion of its gold interest to deliver a significant capital sum to support the nation's growth and development. So, Honorable, this was found in the NDC's budget statement. I am interested in this because the intent of the NDC is almost what we are doing now. The intent or the rationale for setting up that company, the Ghana Gold Company, that intent is almost the same thing as we are doing now. And I'll show you the Attorney General's recommendation, and this is the Attorney General during the NDC's time, and I may also read a portion of it for you. But this is also dated on the 6th of October 2011. The 6th of October 2011. Now, it was addressed to the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. If you also check page 2 of the Attorney General's advice to the Honorable Minister of Finance at the time, that is Honorable Dr. Kwabena Dufo. Now, the last but one paragraph states that Parliament, in my understanding, may establish a public fund for specific purposes, such as managing revenue and monies into which such receipts may be paid. Now, if you check the last paragraph too, it went ahead to state that Parliament may authorize by an act of Parliament a national vehicle to hold all such interests and to manage such receipts on behalf of government. Now, the problem will, however, still remain that such a national vehicle cannot do with the funds as it pleases without the authorization of an act of Parliament. So, the Attorney General at that time clearly advised the NDC to also set up a fund, as you have done. Because at the time, they were setting up a company, that is the Ghana Gold Coast Company, to manage the royalties. And so the intent of the NDC at the time is similar to what we've done. And it is proper that the Ghanaian people also understand that.
You see, the interesting aspect is,
right,
they had wind of the gold royalty company.
Okay.
But they did not have good intentions.
Okay.
So the intent aren't the same. If they had gotten good intentions,
the rationale,
they would have established that company.
Right.
The intent,
okay,
is very important. The intent is behind every act. The intent is the most important aspect.
Now, let me also read a memorandum. I also have it here. If you check the memorandum, it was addressed to the Ghana Gold Company Committee, dated June 2011. The subject matter
was at its highest level.
Absolutely. Because if you check the executive summary and the background, it goes ahead to let us know the intent as you were talking about. But the last paragraph also talked about the fact that the benefits to government of having such a company are several, including the following. 1, delivery of significant capital sum to the government raised from private market. That's exactly almost what we are doing today.
The principles.
It goes on. It goes on.
If they had listened,
they are showing on our screen for the Ghanaian people to understand.
If they had even listened to the Attorney General then, they could have probably done something. But because they were not having good intentions behind, that is why they couldn't do it. But they brought this in their budget statement. And for a country, for a government to even think of, in a way, subjecting something and subscribing it to a budget, it should tell you the thinking that went through.
Absolutely.
Because you can't just wake up and just put anything in a budget.
The budget. Then
because they were not having that wherewithal to carry it forward, they just dropped it. And they are running around that, oh, we're listening to Ghanaians. I've challenged them to come up with any single document from any civil society organization or any group that challenged at that time that they should drop it. They should just tell us. Nobody challenged them. They just couldn't have that exposure and experience to carry it. So they had to abandon it. And this time around, we have been able to consult enough. We have been able to, contract people who have been well exposed to such transactions and are ready to support us to get there. And they know it's very important. They know about it. It was, I think, Dr. Dufour, who was the finance minister then. And because he's a finance person, so he knew it. But because they did not, they couldn't even allow him to carry it on. And I've heard one or two people who are independent-minded who have said, yes, it's a good deal, including some civil society groups. They said, yes, it's a good thing, but we think we should have been consulted. I said, yes, I agree with you, but we weren't in normal times. The COVID took us, aback. Then our doors are still open. But let us have the impression that it's a good cause, something that will help support this country. We need to back it, support it, and stop writing unnecessary letters to the people in the diaspora.
In the same memorandum, I am interested on the second page. It talks about the mandate of the Ghana Gold Company Committee. Now, the number 4.1 clearly stipulates that the Ghana Gold Committee should have a growth strategy that includes one. Now, we will arrive at the reason why they lacked the technical competence to have ensured that this deal had gone through at that time. Now, the GGC should have a growth strategy that includes one, acquiring high quality royalties in minerals commodities such as gold, iron, bauxite, that is iron ore and bauxite. But in what we are doing today, it is only gold.
Yes. And even out of gold, it's not all
it is only gold.
We are not using all the taxes.
Only 16 companies. 16 companies is what we are dealing with.
Put all our bauxite, all our gold, all our manganese, everything.
And they even said, etc., etc.
They would have even added tomatoes.
Absolutely, etc., etc. And the NDC, you had this deal in 2011, and you have the temerity to attack this government that the Agyapa deal that we are bringing about, or the Agyapa deal that is supposed to be able to make sure that we safeguard the interests of the future generation, you have the temerity to attack the Agyapa deal. When you had this in 2011, you lacked the technical competence to be able to make sure that this deal had gone through. And I am surprised the NDC is even having a say on this particular Agyapa deal. It's a shame.
Sometimes it's good as a human being to have conscience.
Now they talk about, they also talk about the number of people who owns Agyapa. They says that it is not fully government owned.
Fallacy.
Absolutely, it is not fully government owned. But if you check the minutes of the GCC in 2011, now the minutes showed the number of people, if you like, the attendees of that particular meeting, which showed that indeed they were not going to give full ownership to only the government of Ghana.
So they were even going to give it
absolutely
and themselves, and that is why that is why they think that because of what the intent they have,
we also have the same. Now the people who are part of that deal at that time, we have Stanbic Bank was supposed to be part of it, and we all know that Stanbic Bank is not a Ghanaian.
Absolutely, it's not a Ghanaian company.
Now we also had Backnor and Associates. and the Bakno and Associate, we had people like Mr. Jude Kofi Bakno and Miss Nanama Douna Hamod, also part of the Bakno and Associate. Now, we also had the SAS Securities, of course, with Mr. Togbe Afazi, the 14th. And Macare Bank, also named by one Kofi Ajay. Now, interestingly, if you check... and
that's what we have on our screen.
Absolutely, that's what we have there. Interestingly, if you check the minutes itself, you see that Kofi Ajay was listed as the one who was supposed to be representing Macare Bank. Now, when you come to the attendance sheet itself that has been shown in the screens, you see that Kofi Ajay was now representing Bullion Financial Services. So you ask yourself, the minutes itself, where is Bullion Financial Services, and how come Bullion Financial Services now found itself at the meeting that was supposed to make decisions as far as Ghana Gold Committee is concerned?
NDC exposed.
So clearly, the Bullion Financial, absolutely, the Bullion Financial Services or whatsoever that was supposed to be chaired by one Kofi Ajay clearly had an agenda. A hidden agenda that Ghanaians would never have seen if that deal had gone through. So the evil intent of the NDC is what they think that we are doing today.
But we will never, chart that path. We have Ghanaians' wish and zeal at heart.
Right.
We have the will of Ghana at heart, and we will never go any tangent that will go a long way in disturbing Ghanaians. And that's why we think about the future of this country. My brother, one thing they've also been talking of is the Attorney General.
Right.
And one coward that I see the person as not patriotic got one of the engagements that we had with the Attorney General's department leaked. But what is the duty of Attorney General? The duty of an Attorney General is to critique,
absolutely,
fine-tune,
absolutely,
for you to have
right,
a better transaction.
Absolutely.
And we went through series of interactions with the Attorney General. And he just got.
But at least we listen to our Attorney General.
Yes.
They fail to listen to the Attorney General.
And it tells you, it should tell you that we don't in any way intimidate any agency.
Right.
We allow all agencies to work independently.
Right.
Just to perfect every transactions or every transaction that we embark on. And the Attorney General, the last letter that I received as a board chair, dated 12 August 2020. And it was addressed to the Finance Minister from the Attorney General. And I read, "Dear colleague, revised versions of Project Kingdom Investment Arrangement Draft Agreements incorporating the Honorable AG's recommendation.
Right.
We refer to our various advice dated 1st April 2019, 28th May 2020, 22nd July 2020, and 5th August 2020. And the transaction advisors' comments dated 12 June 2020, 22nd July 2020, respectively, on the Kingdom Investment Arrangements for the proposed monetization of Ghana's royalties. The letter indicates that our earlier comments on the draft agreement have been duly incorporated and requests our final review and no objection." It means the Attorney General says that on 1st April 2019, we had an engagement.
Right.
And having gone through, the 28th May, we had engagement. And having gone through, and also bringing her views on. The 22nd July 2020 engagement, the 5th August engagement that we had. Having gone through all this, I now have no objection. Because MIIF and Agyapa responded to the concerns
of the Attorney General.
Right. And that's the duty of the Attorney General, is to fine-tune. So obviously she will write to you, do this, do that. So if you get one of those engagements leaked, it doesn't make you the best concerned person in the world. It tells me that you are not, somebody, excuse me of my language. It's foolishness to the highest level. And people...
Because that is the purpose of the Attorney General.
Yes. So why do you even talk about that? And people were running around. As I speak with you, NDC hasn't raised any tangible reason to abandon this project. Not even one.
I think that is why they are going around.
Just speculating and, listing this one has shares and...
The NPP has stepped down as far as the Agyapa.
I'm saying I'm the board chair of Minerals Income Investment Fund.
Right.
and Agyapa is my baby. So I have an oversight over Agyapa. MIIF now holds 100% shares of Agyapa. So if someone comes around to tell you any story relating it to Eastern region, and it just, the person, mere propaganda, just thrash it.
Right.
And we, as I told you, we haven't Ghanaians at heart. We have nothing to hide. London Stock Exchange will have everything listed, make all the document public. And Ghanaians, and we've also started, we're going to engage Nananom because I think COVID is now, going down a bit.
Right. We
can put on our mask and meet Nananom and other identifiable groups. We will continue to engage. Civil society, yesterday we engaged them and they were so excited. Lots of them have made comments that, some of them even privately told me, Honorable, if I had known of these details, at least we could have also made some comment or positive comments, and going forward we'll know how to couch our rendition and so on and so forth. So it's a good time to question, it's a good time to engage, but let us also be mindful of the cost of gold as of now, because timing in this business is very important. People are saying, okay, why don't you take it to 2021 and so on. Now, if you check the price of gold, it's very high.
Right.
And every investor would want to invest in gold as of now. And if you want to go to the market, the stock market, I believe this is the best time to hit out there.
Right.
As for NDC, they will write whatever letter for people not to have any interest.
Right.
And their interest is not about Ghana.
Right.
Their interest is what you have just read.
Right.
Let's go and share the booty.
Right.
So let and confuse Ghanaians, and the NPP will abandon it. When we come, then what we started with, we'll share for them to have their booty. And that is their plan. NPP, because we listen to Ghanaians, when we shout on top of roofs, they will abandon it. Then when we come, we'll come and loot. And that one will not happen. Let me reassure you. If you have nothing to hide, if you have your country at heart, and your conscience is right, you continue to do what is right.
Now, we are going to end in about 3 minutes. Let's try and end with the issue of valuation. Then you can tie in with the importance, or if you like, the advantages of this deal to the people of Ghana. Yeah. I want us to end with that because that is what the people of Ghana are interested in. They will want to know what kind of benefit will accrue to them if you go ahead with this Agyapa deal.
The intention of the whole Agyapa deal is to add value to our gold revenue stream. How do we add value? So we trading to add value. So if you have 1 city, you tell somebody the future is bright. So bring your 2 cities, and you have 3 cities to invest. Now, valuation that you indicated, the valuation, everything, and the cost of each share will be declared when it gets listed on the London Stock Exchange. Everybody would know that there's a cost of each share. And even the 1 billion that we're anticipating, some of us are, anticipating to see about 3 billion. And that will also be determined by the number of shares.
From the memorandum that I'm seeing here, does it mean that during the NDC's time, with respect to the Ghana Gold Coast Committee, they were expecting about 320 million? Is that what I'm seeing here?
You see,
that is way below.
Yes, they did not.
That was for the entire mineral concession.
No, they couldn't do any due diligence to even find out what they are going to get. And I can tell you, with this, we're building our roads, we're building more, establishing more. We
are going to end the double track in no time because we are going to build more schools.
Yes. And I'm happy you are here because in terms of education, you have that technical, advantage. We're going to build more schools, we're going to do more roads, health facilities, we're going to and housing. Lots of people are sleeping on the street. People are struggling to have where to put their heads. So how do we also provide affordable housing to well-meaning Ghanaians? And that's also one of the mandates. And that is one of our cardinal principles why we're embarking on this transaction. And I can reassure you that Mrekuduka, a person from Takwa in Swahili, wouldn't in any way mingle or stop any transaction that will in a way support my community. We've flagged all this infrastructure development all this while. it is time for us to develop the mining communities. And how to develop these mining communities is to add value to our gold revenue.
Right, but before we end, it is very important for me to also reiterate these points. It is important that the Ghanaian people become aware that in 2011, as I've already indicated, the Attorney General under the NDC's government advised the NDC not to go ahead with the deal the way it was. Put differently, they were advised to have a fund to be able to manage the royalties.
To have an act.
To have an act.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they didn't even think of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the NDC failed to do all that. Now, we are also saying that if you look at the people who were supposed to be owning the Ghana Gold Coast Company, or if you like, the Ghana Gold Coast Committee, government of Ghana was a part of it. But there were other people who were also part, and that is not what we are seeing as far as the Agyapa deal is concerned. The Agyapa deal is 100% owned by the government of Ghana. I'll repeat that. The Agyapa deal is 100% owned by the people of Ghana. Profits, dividends, whatever that will come from it will accrue to the benefit of the Ghanaian people. Now, I also want to state that indeed, as I've already indicated, that there were a number of people who were part of the ownership, the supposed ownership of the Ghana Committee. I've already mentioned that Stanbic Bank was part of it, headed by one Mr. Kwamena Asumanin. It was also Bakna and Associates was also part of it, headed by Mr. Jude Kofi Bakno and Miss Nanama Dowuna Hammond. We also had SAS Securities, also Mr. Togbe Afezi the 14th, and Macare Bank, where there's some amount of controversy as to who really was representing Macare Bank, because we have Kofi J here and on the attendance sheet you also find Kofi J as part of the people who were representing.
That is indeed the real financial services.
Capture. Absolutely.
That is a real state capture.
Yes. And so
they had that intention. That is why they mentioned it.
Right. And so clearly, the narrative have shown that indeed the Agyapa deal is coming for good. The Agyapa deal is coming to ensure that we have enough infrastructure in the country. The Agyapa deal is coming to ensure that we will be able to eliminate the double track that we have, because we are going to build a number of schools. And that is the fear of the NDC, that as soon as we are able to raise the over $500 million, clearly the government will be able to do a number of things. Today, I was joined in the studios by the affable and hardworking Honorable Duka Breku, who is the Member of Parliament for the good people of Takwa in Sayem. He doubles as the Vice Chair of the Energy and Mines Committee in Parliament, and also the Board Chair for MIIF. My name is Vincent Asifo Jr., and I was joined by my able producer, chief producer, Goodfellow Odey and Godwin. Next week, I'll see you on my Caucus. Thank you so much for watching.